All right, we're going to talk about a new book called Crime Inc. How Democrats Employ Mafia and Gangster Tactics to Gain and Hold Power. And Vince Everett Ellison has written a massive takedown of the political left. He explains how murder, sex trafficking, defunding the police, and disarming law-abiding citizens are used as tools in a diabolical plan for power. Vince Everett Ellison, welcome to the Richard Syrett Show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Richard. How you doing, brother?
I'm very well, thank you. All right, so I get, the idea that the Democrats and the Biden administration, or as I like to call it, the third term of Barack Obama, has left the southern border wide open. That's certainly dereliction of duty. That's an impeachable offense. Biden swore an oath to protect the border. He's not doing that. I understand, the crime that's been allowed to fester in inner cities because of defunding the police. But when you say sex trafficking and murder, what do you mean? Are you saying that the Democrats are actively involved in those two things?
Yeah, they've never not been involved in them. Look, I was going on a cotton plantation in Haywood County, Tennessee. My father was a sharecropper, and the Democratic Party controlled the South from 1800 until about 2000. They were the party of slavery from 1860 to 1860, from 1800 to 1860. They were a party of the Confederacy from 1860 to 1865. They were a part of Jim Crow from 1865 to really about 1970. And during all that time down south, all they did was murder, kill, maim, torture Black people, and they did it for power. They stole elections. That's why the Civil Rights Movement was really needed, because they were stealing elections, wouldn't let Black people vote, were using all kinds of shenanigans to keep them from voting. They've always been a terrorist group. In the 1920s, the Nazis sent people over here to consult with the Southern Democrats, asked them how did they make Black people second-class citizens, and they used their standards to write the Nuremberg laws that made the Jews second-class citizens in Germany. So the Democrats were Nazis 120 years before the Nazis, and they were Nazis 40 years after the Nazis were gone. They've always hated Black people. They've always hated minorities. They've always had an elite group at the top that controlled everything, and they would do anything to maintain power. So right now, it's just the same party under new management. They during the civil rights, the civil rights movement allowed a lot of the communists and everything to take over it, and then they used it to take over the Democratic Party in 1972. And since then, the Democratic Party has been more like the USSR. They just like the mafia, they came from overseas. Just like the triads, they came from overseas. Just like MS-13, they came from a foreign country. And now they're using these foreign tactics to, like I say, traffic across the border, sex trafficking, drug trafficking. They also control the unions like the mob controls the unions. They make their money from hits like the mob, because the mob uses hitmen and they use Planned Parenthood. They groom children young like the mob. The mob gets them young and have them come into the mafia, and they've been in the mafia since they're 12 years old. Same thing with these guys. They use their public educational system to groom children. They enter the porn industry. You can't stop pornography inside the Democratic Party, and that's what the mob uses also. The gambling, all of it. When you look at what they do, how they put their drugs and everything to the Black community, like in The Godfather, when the guy said, in my area, I put the drugs on amongst the coloreds, the animals anyway, so let them lose their souls. This is the Democratic Party, an evil institution, a criminal.
1972, you pinpointed, you gave us a very precise date. 1972 was when the Democrat Party was infiltrated and taken over by communists or Marxists. Why 72? What happened that year specifically?
Well, in 1968, if you can recall, at the Democratic Convention, they tried to break in then, but it was in Chicago, and Mayor Daley used the hard hats and the police to beat them out of there. And they were out in the streets screaming, the whole world is watching, the whole world is watching. Well, when they ran back, bleeding and beat down, Saul Alinsky was in the crew with them, and he wrote the Rules for Radicals. Mm-hmm. He told them that they had three choices. He said either go and find themselves a wailing wall and cry, or go and start firing off bombs and blowing up stuff, and then they would turn America against them. Or in the next 4 years, come back and they'd be the delegates. And that's what they did. So in 4 years, they came back. And when Mayor Daley came to sit his group in Miami at the convention in 72, they ran Daley out. And they put Jesse Jackson and Singer over the Chicago delegation and set that group in. And that was the first group, that was the first time in American history that gay rights, abortion had ever been talked about in a political convention. It was at the 1972 convention. And they have been radical ever since. So when you see old stalwarts like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Jim Clyburn, all of them in their 80s, still trying to hold on to power, they were part of that group back then that took over the Democratic Party, brought the Marxists in from the Civil Rights Movement, and they've been there ever since. So Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Andrew Young, all those guys that marched in the 60s, the Black Panthers, RAM, all of these feminist groups, all of these LGBTQ groups, they were all closeted Marxists. And they jumped in the Civil Rights Movement with Martin Luther King Jr. They took over the Civil Rights Movement. They got involved in politics. They took it over in 1972, and they've been running the show ever since.
So was Barack Obama, who promised to fundamentally transform America, and as it has often been stated, if you love something, you don't seek to change it and radically transform it. So the extension of that being that Barack Obama hates the United States, and that's why he wants to transform it into something else. Was he selected early on? Was he sort of groomed to become president? Was he installed as president? There's so many mysterious sort of voids in his official record. We don't know. He was registered at I believe it was Columbia University, but nobody ever saw him attend class. And then there's the social insurance number that was connected to a dead person in Connecticut. Just so many strange things happening with that guy.
Yeah, he was groomed early on, and they're grooming him still now. A lot of them are groomed. They come from the Ivy League. They come from the Civil Rights Movement. They come from, the black preachers and all this kind of stuff. And if you want power, it's not hard to get it. You just go in to the Democratic Party and you say that you will support LGBTQ, that you will support the unions, that you will support atheism, that you will support bringing in all these illegals, because they want to not only displace white people, but they want to also displace black people. They call these illegals a new N-word, and it's a shame, but that's what they call them. Because I looked at what Joe Biden did this past week, and with all the high unemployment amongst black people up in New York City, he found 500,000 work visas for these Venezuelans. You want to keep black people on the plantation by making sure they stay addicted to government. And so he puts them on welfare, and then he gives the jobs to the illegals, the jobs of sweeping floors and picking the produce and all this kind of stuff. So they understand what they're doing. But the one thing that they're doing that's horrible is that they want to get God out of everything, because they don't compete for power. And as long as God is in the picture, they have to compete with him. See, our Declaration of Independence says that our rights come from God. They are unalienable. That means God gives us our rights, and that government has no right to supersede certain rights and privileges. Well, if God is not there, where do your rights come from? They have to come from government. And so they have to get God out of everything. And if you look at the public educational system, you'll see that. They kick God out, but they brought the drag queens in. They kicked God out and brought LGBTQ in. They kicked out the Bible, but they brought in porn, and they brought in all of this smut. See, they know exactly what they're doing. And when you look at the children during that time, these young children under the age of 25, and ask them about God, you see that they are much less religious than we were when we were their ages. They know what they're doing. We need to understand it and catch wind of it. This is why I wrote this book, Crime Inc. Crime Inc. tells you about it. It tells you how to recognize it. It also tells you exactly what to do about it. I also did a documentary. I don't know if you heard of it, back earlier this year. It was called Will You Go to Hell for Me? Before Tucker Carlson left Fox, he allowed me to debut it on his show. It got 100,000 views on YouTube. And one day the trailer did. And they took it down. They said that it didn't match their standards. They'll let Cardi B come on and cuss and
exactly.
show. It asked the question, and it's also one of the chapters in the book. Will you go to hell for me? See, we believe as Christians that that the Democrats trying to get you to believe there's some type of severability between your vote and your actual person. But there's not. You are your vote. So as Christians, we think that if you vote for a party that says they're going to castrate little boys and call them little girls, cut off the breasts of little girls and call them little boys and give them puberty blockers, destroying them for the rest of their lives, voting for 9-month abortion, which is basically murder, voting to trap children in failing schools and not allow them school choice, knowing that these schools are not going to educate them or teach them to read or write, disarm law-abiding citizens in war zones where criminals are shooting up the streets and kicking in doors and raping people, refusing to protect people in these war zones because they want to defund the police, and also allowing sex trafficking and all kinds of illegal drug trafficking across the border, where the fentanyl is killing over 100,000 young Americans every year, where they have cities like Detroit and Chicago and DC and Memphis that are nothing but hellholes. Everybody says hell. How do you say you can vote for that, a person that's going to keep that going, and not think that you're going to be held responsible for it, not think you're going to go to hell? This is why I'm trying to tell all Christians that who vote for this, you're putting your souls in jeopardy. This is not a game anymore. The Nazis thought they could vote for Adolf Hitler and that he could kill Jews on their behalf and they not be held responsible for it. Yes, they were. World War II held them responsible for it. We have people here in America that are thinking that, but look at the Black community keeping these people in power. We have children dying in the streets every day. Washington, D.C. had over 100 children murdered in the streets by stray bullets and stuff this year. We have murder in the streets. We have crime. We have poverty. It's a shame, carjacking. And we don't think we've been held responsible for allowing this evil institution to rule over us. Yes, we are. You will be held responsible either in this life or the next. And the Democratic Party is an evil institution. Liberalism is evil. The Democratic Party is nothing but the cabal of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots. That's all they are.
The Democrats have
tried to take this nation down and this world out if we let them. They want to see the world burn.
The Democrats have run the large urban centers in the United States, some of them for 100 years. Yeah. Baltimore, Chicago, St. Louis, you name it, run by the Democrats for 100 years. And as you say, Black Americans have suffered inordinately because of crime and poverty. Why do they continue? I hate these terms, the Black community or the white, we're all individuals. Yeah. But that is always, well, at least since 1964, has been a very reliable voting bloc for the Democrats, Black Americans. Yeah. Why do they continue to do this, to vote Democrat?
Because they've taken a plate from the old Soviet handbook. They've demoralized the population. See, there's a story that when Stalin died, the people that Stalin had put in the Gulag cried. Why? Because he demoralized them. Stockholm syndrome, cognitive dissonance. It's a beatdown, man. It's not a condemnation, it's an explanation. Everybody knows about it. Patty Hearst, a lot of and slaves all suffered from it. But battered wife syndrome. You identify with your oppressor. And when somebody beats you down and says you're nothing, you're a victim, nobody loves you, you're ugly. We saw on The Hunchback of Notre Dame, me and my little girl watched how Frollo did that to the Hunchback. He had him sing a little song. I'm ugly, you're ugly. I'm despised, nobody loves me. And he believed it. And he stayed in his tower. They demoralized the Black community like the Soviet Union demoralized the Soviet Union, like China more demoralizes its people. It is the act of a tyrant to demoralize your people. You hear them walk around screaming about income inequality. Well, what about the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet? They're supposed to be Christian people, right? Well, my Christian religion tells me that I cannot be oppressed. Why? Because I'm an heir of Jesus Christ. I'm a child of God. Nobody's over me. I cannot be a victim. Why? Because God is my father. You can't defeat me. My job is not to respond to what you is not what you do to me. It's how I respond to what you do to me. So no matter what you do, I'm going to love you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to treat you right no matter what you do. I will not come down to your level. But that doesn't give you the right to put your hands on me. So because if you try to put your hands on me, I'm going to do like Jesus did in the temple. I'm going to get Jesus. I'm going to get my 38. I'm going to run you out.
I'm going to turn over some tables.
There you go. Look, this is serious business, y'all. The Democratic Party knows who they are. I think most people don't understand exactly who they are now, who the liberals are. They're basically atheists and Marxists. They want absolute power. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in the freedoms that we believe, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of keeping bear arms. They believe that they should be at the top and everybody else should be at the bottom, and we should be under their feet. It's just the old game of the tyrant. We've all read about it throughout history, whether it be Julius Caesar, whether it be Stalin, whether it be Mussolini, whether it be Hitler. They exist. And they are a very small group of the people of the world, but they are all kind of insane and they're kind of crazy. And they use this insanity this insanity makes them believe that they should rule over the world. And they all come together and they become a cabal of very dangerous people. And they concentrate in one basic area. And in America, they concentrate in the Democrat Party. In Canada, I'm sure that they concentrate in whatever a party you have up there that's very, very liberal. But the conservatives, they believe in freedom. We believe in the Constitution. We believe in the unalienable rights that God gave us. The unalienable rights mean that your rights are irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. That's freedom. The Democrats don't believe that. They believe that your freedom comes from government. They believe that they can tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. You are not free. You are subject. They call themselves our leaders. Nobody's my leader. I'm a free man. Nobody leads me. You're my servant. I'm your boss. I tell you what to do. We need to get the nomenclature correct, get them back in line, kick them out of office.
So in 2024, according to the polls right now, Trump beats Biden. According to a ABC Washington Post poll, he's up 10% nationwide. That's the popular vote. That's not in the swing states. 10 points. That could be an outlier. Although in the other polls, for the first time in many polls, Trump is ahead of Biden. He's doing better than he did in the polls in 2016 when he beat Hillary Clinton. And blacks now 20%. That's a huge chunk out of. I mean, the Democrats need the Latino vote. They need young people to vote. They need blacks to vote in their favor in big numbers. And 20% now favoring Trump. Is this a year that we start to see, I don't know, a cultural revival, a return to conservatism?
Yeah, look, we've been doing the work here, man, not through the Republican Party, but just through grassroots, my documentary, my books. We do it all. And black people are listening to it. My documentary, Will You Go to Hell For Me, was shown here inside of Lynchburg, Virginia, in front of a crowd of about 1,000, mostly white people. Got a standing ovation at the end. A week later, it was shown at a black church called World Overcomers in Memphis, Tennessee, 12,000 member church. Got a standing ovation there. Why? Because I tell them how the Democrat Party and the liberals, their main goal is to separate black and white Christians. We believe the same thing. Mm-hmm. But one votes liberal, one votes conservative. Why? Because the Democratic Party has hijacked these three entities in the black community to do their dirty work. Most black preachers, most black civil rights workers, and most black politicians. And they're down there all the time telling black people vote for the Democratic Party and that conservatives are racist. That is a lie. The smartest thing white conservatives ever did was leave the liberal Democrat Party in the 1970s when they started turning liberal. They tried to say that these white conservatives left because of racism. No, they left because they saw the Democratic Party turn into an atheist, LGBTQ, hate-filled party, and they wanted no part of it. And if they had stayed with the Democratic Party, they'd be exactly where black people are right now, at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in the industrialized world. Instead, white conservatives are doing well in America. Black liberals are at the bottom. The Democrats want everybody to be at the bottom. A Democrat Party heaven is an American hell. They're proud of what they're doing in Baltimore. They're proud of what they've done in Philly. They're proud of what they've done in D.C. They walk around strutting like they've done something, asking to be reelected. That shows you that they're proud. They're proud of it, and they want America to look just like the rest of these ghettos. They're not ashamed of these ghettos. They're proud of these ghettos. Just like John F. Kennedy said when he stood in front of the Berlin Wall. He said, for those that think that communism is great, let them come to Berlin. Well, I said, if you think that the Democratic Party is great, those that think it's great, let them go to Baltimore. Let them come to Washington, D.C. Let them come to L.A. Let them come to Memphis. Let them come to Dallas, Houston. Let them come there. See what they've done to these people.
You mentioned Dallas. You mentioned Dallas. Eric Johnson, the black mayor of Dallas, just switched parties. He's now a Republican.
Sure did. Yes,
are you seeing? And we're seeing increasingly Democrat legislatures at the state level, even at the county level, are quitting the Democrat Party and joining the Republicans. Are you now hopeful that this is going to get turned around in 2024?
It will. And one thing that's happening is that people are recognizing that with this Crime Inc., Donald Trump is being treated like black men have been treated for the last 220 years from the Democrat Party. Chased down, using law enforcement to stack charges on him, trying to put him in jail on false charges. The difference is that Trump has millions of dollars to defend himself. Black men didn't have that money. So Trump knows how it feels now to be a black man in America. See, the Democratic Party has always chased us down. They've always castrated us. They've always lynched us. They've always shot us. They've always tried to take away our manhood. And these black men are looking at what they're doing to Donald Trump saying, now you see. And Trump says, now I understand. I understand what y'all been dealing with. I understand y'all been under the heel of this party. And then they lie and deflect and say that somebody else is doing it. But when I say, wherever you live, look at your community. The jury that puts you in jail is a jury of your peers where you live. The police that arrested you are the police that of the city where you live. The judge that gives you the time is a judge that's hired in the city where you live. The school where you reside is controlled by the school board where you live. These are all local things controlled by the Democrat Party. The Republican Party has no power in the black community. Zero. To blame the Republican Party for what's going on in the black community is just like trying to blame the Labor Party in Great Britain for what's going on in the black community. You can't do it. They have no part. They have no power. So what did the Democrat Party do? It was them. It was them. No, it's you. It was always been you. It was you that had my daughter raped. It was you that locked my child in a failing school. It was you. It was you that destroyed my community, has drugs being sold on the street. It was you. It was the Democratic Party. A bunch of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots and racists. It was them. And anybody that votes for them, anybody, white or black, that vote for them, is like a chicken vote for Colonel Sanders. You're insane.
Vince Everett Ellison, Crime Inc. How Democrats Employ Mafia and Gangster Tactics to Gain and Hold Power. And it's VinceEllison.com, VinceEllison.com. You can get the book there. You can also stream or buy the movie, the DVD of the movie. Again, VinceEllison.com.
And watch the trailer for the DVD. It's free to watch the trailer. It'll knock your socks off. I guarantee you it's the best trailer you've ever seen. I dare you to watch it. It's about 2 minutes long. You'll never forget it. It's the best trailer you've ever seen.
Vince, thank you so much. I hope we can speak again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for having me.